The story of nationalism in Zambia is not one of sudden, dramatic explosions, but rather a slow, deep current that gathered strength over decades. It was a journey that began not in the parliament halls, but in mission schools and welfare meetings, and it culminated in the triumphant raising of a new flag over Lusaka on October 24, 1964. Please like and share the video, and subscribe to our channel. Scroll emoji, the genesis, welfare societies and the seeds of unity. The earliest stirrings of organized political consciousness in northern Rhodesia began not with fiery speeches, but with petitions. In 1912, at the Mwenzo mission, two men named Donald Sill and David Konda, the father of Zambia's future first president, formed the Mwenzo Welfare Association. This was a modern and political organization whose primary goal was to bring African views to the attention of the government. In its early years, this was the central objective of Zambian nationalism to be heard. These early welfare societies were the crucible of a new political class. They were moderate bodies, often led by the emerging African elite of teachers, clerks, and clergy. Their members affirmed their loyalty to the British Crown and politely asked for minor reforms, but their very existence was an act of political assertion in a colonial state that denied Africans a voice. In 1946, these scattered groups coalesced into the Federation of African Societies at Broken Hill, Kabwe, creating the first territory-wide African organization. This new body, which renamed itself the Northern Rhodesia African Congress (NRAC) in 1948, became the country's first political party. Under its first president, Godwin Lewanika of Baratsland, it represented the first united front of African political opinion. Hammer and pick emoji, the forge of class, the copper belt strikes while welfare societies spoke the language of reform. Another, more urgent voice of dissent was rising from the depths of the copperbelt mines. Beginning in the late 1920s, the discovery of vast copper deposits drew tens of thousands of men from their rural villages into the industrial heartland of the colony. These men experienced a new kind of exploitation, not just the hut tax or forced labor, but the brutal logic of industrial capitalism, with its poor safety records and stagnant wages. This shared experience forged a powerful sense of class consciousness, and they began to form associations to articulate their grievances. This consciousness exploded into open confrontation in 1935, when African miners went on strike over poor pay and increased taxes. The colonial state responded with force, but the strike was a landmark event, proving that African workers could shut down the engine of the colonial economy. A second, larger wave of strikes erupted in 1940, further cementing the Copperbelt as a hotbed of resistance. These actions forced the colonial government to recognize the power of organized labor, leading to the formation of the African Mineworkers Union, AMU, in 1949 under the leadership of Lawrence Katilami. The strikes showed that the fight for African dignity would be fought not just in the political arena, but in the very factories that powered the empire. Fire emoji, the flashpoint, opposing the federation if the welfare societies provided the organizational seed, and the strikes provided the muscle. The fight against the proposed Central African Federation provided the unifying cause that would galvanize Zambian nationalism into a mass movement. In the early 1950s, white settlers in the region pushed for the amalgamation of Northern Rhodesia, Southern Rhodesia, and Nyasaland into a single, self-governing dominion. For the black majority, this was an existential threat. They feared it would entrench white minority rule, lead to further land alienation, and permanently block any path to African self-government. The NRAC, under its new president Harry Nkombula, a charismatic teacher who had studied at the London School of Economics, mobilized fiercely against the Federation, organizing boycotts of shops that enforced the color bar. In 1953, a young teacher named Kenneth Kaunda became the party's general secretary, forming a formidable partnership with Nkombula. Despite their passionate opposition, the federation was imposed in 1953. However, the battle was not lost. The intense political activity it generated had awakened a new level of political consciousness. The fight had begun. Broken heart emoji, the parting of ways, Unkumbula, Kanda, and the split the campaign against the Federation also exposed deep fissures within the nationalist movement. As the 1950s wore on, Harry Unkumbula adopted a more cautious, emollient approach, while Kenneth Kaunda became increasingly radicalized. The final break came in 1958, over the issue of whether to participate in a general election based on a restricted, racially skewed franchise. Kaunda led a radical faction out of the rank, forming the Zambia African National Congress, ZANC, dedicated to immediate and uncompromising independence. This split marked the birth of modern Zambian nationalism. The colonial government responded swiftly and brutally. ZANC was banned in March 1959, and Kaunda was imprisoned. However, the idea could not be caged. While Kaunda was in jail, his followers, led by Mindsa Chona, reconstituted the movement as the United National Independence Party, UNIP, in October 1959. Upon his release in 1960, Kaunda assumed leadership of UNIP, a party whose very name declared its ultimate goal. Classical building emoji, the final push, independence at last with UNIP as its vanguard, the nationalist cause swept across the country. By 1962, the political landscape had shifted dramatically. In elections that year, neither the white-led United Federal Party nor Harry Unkumbula's now ANC could form a government alone. In a stunning turn, Unkumbula chose to form a coalition with Kaunda's UNIP, uniting the nationalist forces and sealing the fate of the Federation. The Federation was dissolved on December 31, 1963. In the final pre-independence elections in 1964, Kenneth Kaunda and UNIP won a landslide victory, capturing 55 out of 75 seats. Kaunda became Prime Minister of Northern Rhodesia and led the country to independence on October 24, 1964, becoming its first president. The rise of Zambian nationalism was a tapestry woven from many threads: the patient petitions of welfare societies, the explosive solidarity of striking miners, the strategic maneuvering of its political leaders, and the unifying fear of the Federation. It was a long, complex, and often contentious struggle, but it ultimately forged a nation.